On the path of life, we all have our own unique destiny. The life of every soul has a heroic probability to manifest into its highest levels of abundance and joy, and to be filled with goodness and divine inspiration. That's why I created Awakening with Sarah. And it is my hope to be a guide for you on the journey, bringing powerful tools, helpful wisdom, healing music, and inspirational guests to nourish and bless your journey of awakening. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll be on to our episode. And today's episode is called Wanderer of Earth, Messenger from the Stars, with our special guest, Dante Starshine. Dante Starshine is a yogi, channel, energy healer, writer, and holistic guide. His spiritual path began in 2011 with yoga, plant medicine, and Reiki. Spiritual transformation awakened a calling in his heart to learn the healing ways of the world, and in 2012, he left his home in Pennsylvania on a one-way ticket to Mexico. This began 11 years of nomadism and his initiation to ceremonial cacao and deeper psychic work in 2013 in Lake Atitlan, Guatemala. For several years, he studied under several energy healers, psychics, and shaman, and began having interactions with the Pleiadian Council in 2016. Since then, he has been channeling and fusing wisdom and healing tools from many lineages and schools of healing around the world. Find out more about his work at dantestarshine.com, at Dante Starshine on Instagram, or on the YouTube channel Dante Starshine. In this episode, we'll also be treated to Dante's channeling, and he'll talk about his two wonderful books. One that came from his channeling the Pleiadian Council called Living Love on Earth, and another that is more biographical. And he will be sharing about those two books. All right, and without further ado, we will be on to the show. I'm so happy to invite my longtime friend and amazingly talented, beautiful being, Dante Starshine. So I'm here today with Dante Starshine, and we're so glad to have him on the show. I'm really looking
forward for having me. Yeah.
Yeah. So Dante and I've been good friends for, how long has it been? Like 5 years, 5 or 6?
We must have met at Singing Alive or Plants and Chant, like 2018. That's maybe 5 years ago.
And Dante is a channel for the Pleiadian Council, and I've really enjoyed his readings and his their guidance through him over the years. And he's also a world traveler. It's amazing how many places that you've been in such a short amount of time. I'm just like, wow. So we're going to talk a bit about the channeling, the traveling, and his two books that he's written. And so we're just going to kind of shoot the breeze and see what comes up. But I wanted to start with asking you about, how did your spiritual awakening really start? Like when and how, I guess, are my two questions.
Yeah. So for me, the spiritual awakening was a sort of an intense process, I would say. And then it was this sort of shock of having, my mother nearly died of a heart attack when I was 18, and my parents were alcoholics. They were under a lot of stress, and I experienced a lot of the stress too. And then I was coming of age, quote unquote, because 18, you're supposed to start doing things for yourself, but in a way
Right.
you're still totally a child. So I was coming of age and then seeing that these people didn't have the answers. Like no one really seemed to have the answers or knowing how to deal with these crises that were happening. And my stepmother at the time suggested I go to a yoga class, and I experienced something really strong after during the shavasana meditation the first time I did that. And I kind of forgot about it a bit as I went off to college, and then exploring with plant medicines in college really brought me to remember something. It was like
Mm-hmm.
a remembrance of something from forever ago.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this sense that a lot of these things that I'd read about Buddhism and some of my studies at that point, that everything is connected and everything is here and now, or I didn't even have the words for it at the time though. It was just like, oh wow, there's something bigger. Oh wow, what's happening? Oh wow, I'm here to do something. I'm here to also go deeply into this experience of love, remembrance. And
Mm.
I then I dropped out of the college after my third semester. Third semester, I decided to take some religious studies classes as well, and that was an experience for me of just seeing, okay, well, this academic program is talking about mystical experiences from this very like theoretical outsider view, but the experience itself is something that has to happen subjectively and can only be understood subjectively. So why would I go to school for that? Same with doing writing and art.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I need to go to school to understand this when I can just do it and live these things? So I went to a yoga teacher training, and I started teaching yoga on donation at first at this studio that was really experimenting with these different economic models and ways of making it
Mm-hmm.
accessible to people. And the studio offered to bring me into a Reiki initiation as part of my work exchange there. And that was this another big shift of like, oh wow, it's not just we're all having the spiritual origin, it's that everything is made of energy and I can affect and work with that
Mm-hmm.
energy. And I got really immersed in this, and my whole life became about these things. And people didn't really understand. A lot of the people were still in that like 20-year-old, like, let's party, let's do drugs, let's, you have
So
to
what
focus
year
on
was
being real.
this?
So 2012.
Oh,
2012.
wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I was 20 at the time, and then through all of these metaphysical circles that I was coming to, I was starting to read books about 2012 and the Mayan calendar. And I'd gone to one rainbow gathering the year before my first experience traveling, but I knew that there was going to be one in Mexico, in Palenque, where a lot of the first encryptions of the Mayan calendar were discovered,
Oh, wow.
or
Yeah.
yes, by archaeologists, you could say, and that was really influential when it was discovered. So going there on a one-way ticket, putting, getting rid of my things, getting rid of my life before, and saying goodbye. It was a really big, bold, and scary step, and um, but it was surreal and
How long did you
otherworldly.
stay in Palenque?
1 month, and then our idea was to go all the way down to Peru
Mm.
in a van. A friend of mine and had a partner, her boyfriend. He met these other people at the Rainbow Gathering that had a van, and they wanted to go to South America. We were all going to go to South America in a van, which you can't even drive there. You have to drive to the tip of Panama and then take
Yeah,
a
a
ferry over
ferry.
into Colombia. But the van broke down in Guatemala, the next
Ah,
country over. We
oh
had a road
no.
trip of like 2 weeks to a couple of places, but we broke down at this place, Lake Atitlan. And the ironic part
Oh,
was is that
Atilan, yeah.
I didn't want to go there at first. Like I really like, I can be kind of a person with a very like, this is the plan, stick to it. Like let's be, not even pragmatic, but focused on the goal. You know,
Yeah.
um, and my goal at that time was get to South America for. Um, but then, so we went to this Lake Atitlan, and as soon as I saw the lake, I felt an energy. I felt, oh wow, this is special. Oh wow, we're not in. your typical place here.
Uh-huh.
And I went to a cacao ceremony the first day, and that blew me out of the water and opened my heart and my energy in such a profound way. And I met other teachers as well who I came to study psychic development and things with, and they told me to stay. My friends kept going. They had a little bit of a difficult way to Panama, and then they went home, and I stayed in Guatemala. And I spent like 6 months there until I
Wow.
left, and I then came back the next year, and that started my 12, 11 years
Now,
of
financially, how
nomadism.
did you sustain yourself while you were there for 6 months? That seems like a long time.
I taught yoga.
Oh, you taught yoga.
I taught
Perfect.
yoga, and like for a lot of the time I had $0 most of the time, like, and it was just like, okay, cool, like we had one or two yoga students, that means we can eat today.
Oh my
And
God.
I had my tent pitched.
Wow.
Sometimes my tent was just pitched at like random places outside in nature. Sometimes it was pitched at the hostel, and I would pay like a menial amount of money to kind of there. And then I moved in with my teacher, and
Wow.
eventually, like from teaching yoga, then I was teaching Reiki, I started to make like a bit of money. Like it wasn't quite enough. And yeah, it was like, first time travelers in tropical places or in any like new geographic biome, you could say, there is an adjustment period. And that first year was really rough. I was sick a lot, and it got to a point where I was like, okay,
Oh,
like
right.
we need to like
The
come back with
microbes.
more money. Like it's okay to make some money here, but we need to go back and do seasonal work. But it was, that was my dream. I was like, I want to only do things that feel connected with my purpose from a very young age, because I just felt like an existential like shock when I would do things that didn't feel connected to a higher
I
purpose. I
totally
was like, well, what?
understand.
Why am I doing
I
this?
totally
Oh,
understand.
yeah, yeah, right.
Oh
And even
God,
like raising money
yeah.
for the environment, like I was doing canvassing, and then I
Right.
was seeing that, looking closer at these organizations, that I'm basically a walking advertisement, because so much of the money that I raise goes into the pockets of me and the other people who are doing the canvassing. So it's like,
It's not really going into the environment.
yeah,
Oh
it's a little
man.
bizarre.
Yeah. Wow. And so that was in 2012, and then you came back.
And then
I
I went
met you
back to
in
Guatemala every year, yeah.
Portland, but you were going back every
Every year I was in
year.
Guatemala, basically, until, well, no, one time I went to India for the winter. That was a little wild. I had a boyfriend from Belgium, and part of our karma together was to go to India, and we got our worlds blown open there.
Wow.
And then it took like what, 6 years until I fulfilled the original goal of going to Peru and doing a lot of plant medicine work there. And yeah, that was right before I came to
We
Portland
should
and stayed
sing
with you.
like Ganesha, Sharanam, Sharanam, Ganesha.
Hmm.
Because you've got your Ganesha shirt on,
It's an
yeah?
elephant, yeah.
Oh,
It's Ganesha symbolism.
he's got an elephant.
I actually have my Ganesha. They probably won't be able to see it through the camera, but Ganesha pendant
Ganesha,
too from Thailand.
Sharanam. Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, but against my skin, so the energy can.
Sharanam, Ganesha. Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. And so, yeah, so even when I met you in 2018, you were going to Guatemala every year
Well, like I said, I
and
skipped a couple, but almost
skipped a
every year.
couple, and you went to India.
Yeah.
So, when did you start channeling the Pleiadian High Council? When did they come into the equation?
2016.
Mm.
Yeah.
And do you recall like a specific moment when you were like, something's coming through? Like, do, 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 do.
It was a progression. It was a gradual progression, and that I met these teachers. That one of them was talking to a lot of guides, and the first time I met him, he like stood me in front of a white wall and then told me all these things about my aura and about my past and how I was feeling. And I was just like, oh, I started crying. I was like, what is happening?
Oh,
And so I I did eventually like live with him, and he was doing these readings all the time, and people would just come and stand there, and he would like tell them about their energy, and he would talk to their guides and get messages from their guides. And it was like just a high frequency energy experience to be around him. And we're always just, okay, talking to spirits and talking to guides, and constantly like there's something new coming in, there's some new piece of information. It was a very wild experience. And he would talk about this gnome that followed him around.
Oh,
and
wow.
and one time I remember I was just kind of like staring blankly into space, and then in the corner of my eye I saw this, like, these light and shadows move, and it became the appearance of a gnome. And it was kind of like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it wasn't like a physical thing in front of me, but it wasn't something I was imagining either. It was
Somewhere in the in
yeah, it
between.
was just like an electromagnetic light phenomena.
Hmm.
And then I was like, "Hey, is your gnome here?" It's like, "Yeah, it's right there." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
you
okay."
picked up on the gnome.
So yeah, I mean, having these, and I had another teacher as well who's doing things with guides and visualization and all of this. And I was teaching Reiki sessions. And so from the beginning, even before I left traveling, my Reiki teacher was like, you can call in spirit guides, and sometimes the guides are going to come and work through you, or work with you, or work with the people that you're working with. And one friend of mine from the course was seeing these like vast, like elaborate visual phenomena taking place. And I didn't, this, that
Hmm.
was kind of wild to me as well. But it was kind of percolating, like I could feel what he was seeing, if that makes sense. And then with time, I started to see and feel and hear more things when I was leading workshops and doing sessions with people. Like I heard
Uh-huh.
a voice of some guide or my higher self speaking things to me about this person. And it was really about what they needed to hear. And at first, that was like, after the session, I'm going to tell you these messages that came through. And then it was, during the session, I'm going to tell you the messages that come through. And oh, okay, when that happens, there's this palpable shift of energy in the person's body. They breathe deeper, they sigh, and they start crying. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, this is what I needed to hear. And I didn't even know it. Okay. So I was curious about that. And it happened also as I was doing groups. Like, my higher self would give me information that the group needed to hear. And sometimes it was something I didn't even have awareness of before that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also, through the guidance of my teachers, listening to tons of things about channeling and galactic consciousness and this and that. And when I was listening to it, it was like a transmission was happening, like information was coming in for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I all of this was happening, and I was starting to want more and more. If okay, can I channel too? Can I channel too? And so
Asking the
I did a
question.
ritual, and I was like, I asked, and I wrote on these pieces of paper. I invoked a lot of things, and one of them was, may my highest psychic gifts for the greatest good be open now. And then
Great
the
one.
voice that I heard in my head said, go and speak this out loud. And I did, and it was, I could feel this burst of energy coming into my crown chakra and through my throat, and it was really blissful and really like a high frequency. And I was like, oh wow, okay. I hadn't experienced that before. And at first the voice was very slow in a way, and almost had a robotic quality, because there was like a big
Mm.
pause between a lot of the words.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's kind of
it
like
was,
starting a car, right? They're like
yeah.
getting into the engine
So it
and
was an archangel that came through first, and then I started to meet the galactic beings. And after some time, when I became comfortable with the idea that I'm channeling and bringing in these different consciousnesses, the Pleiadian Council said that they're the ones that have a soul agreement to work with me. And I can channel anyone that I feel called to, but just for the sake of kind of
mm.
sharing the messages with the world, with a consciousness and a being that people can come to get to know, that they were going to be the guides that helped me. And yeah, it all kind of evolved from
Nice.
there.
Do you want to answer some of my questions and do a little channeling?
Oh yeah, sure.
Cool. I'll just ask you a couple.
Yeah.
I haven't had a reading with these guys in a while, so it'll be fun to see them. I've been told that I'm part of this council, although I don't yet exactly channel them the way Dante does, but they're very familiar to me. So, okay.
Hello, and we say fantastic day to you at this moment of your time. We are the Pleiadian Council, and we speak on behalf of a galactic alliance supporting your world in this process of ascension. We thank you for allowing this transmission to take place in this way, for it allows us to grow and allows you to grow. And together we come closer to Source. So we thank you, and we ask, in which ways can we be of support to you today of your time?
So, I guess the biggest question for me is there's just a part of me that doesn't quite trust in my gifts. And I think I mean, I know that I'm passionate about working as a sound and energy healer and bringing forth the divine blueprint through sound, through tone, through intuition, and just really like a work of art. Like
Can we say something?
Yes, you may.
Your gifts are perfect as they are, and they will get even clearer and more defined as you share them. Your issue is not a lack of gifts, it's that you are comparing yourself to others and thinking that your gifts need to be like others or need to be packaged the way that others package it. But your gifts are, first of all, for you as an expression of your passion, as an expression of your excitement. The more you raise your frequency into this energy, the more that you are fulfilling your purpose. And those who are drawn to your unique gifts and your unique expression of them will naturally be drawn to you.
I see. So what I hear you saying is that as I grow, as I express, as I expand more deeply into the more full expression of my unique potential, that will draw the beings that I'm meant to work with.
You will already draw them right now. Over time, it will get accelerated. You'll draw in more, your gifts will become more refined. But that will only happen when you start sharing them now.
I see. That's so important. Yes. Yeah, I've been envisioning doing a webinar for those that are path cutting the embodiment of the diamond sun and drawing together an online community of kind of first embodiers of this divine blueprint. Does that seem like a good idea?
Yes.
Okay, even though I don't know like exactly what my curriculum is, I feel like it's time to stand up in a leadership position and say that I'm willing to download that and follow that and share that as it unfolds in time. Is that a good way to see it?
Yes. You can do it one of two ways. You can call the people in, and once you are connected with them, the information for them will come. Or you can call in the information, and once you've done that, the right people for that information will come. The order doesn't really matter so much.
It all feels pretty formless. I mean, it feels like, I have a lot of, okay, here's a question. Do I have the information now? Because I've written out a whole like syllabus and a whole bunch of different parts of it. Is there more yet to call in? And does that curriculum depend on where we are in time and space?
In a way, you can only process so much information at one time. So you have already downloaded a substantial amount of this information.
Yes.
And once that information goes from your working memory into something on the page or even in video format or some sort of recording, then you will be able to download more information. Your guides can only put so much information into your working memory at any given time.
Yes. So it seems like there's like a parallel, with
Yes.
the healing work. Like as I do the healing work, then I will receive more of my gifts.
Yes.
And as I start this curriculum, then I will receive more of the downloads
Yes.
that are yet to come. Yeah.
And
So
this is very much true about any message that's coming from your higher self or from an intuitive guide. Once you listen and you take the actions that were told to you to take, then the next step will come about.
I understand. Yes.
So they've spoiled you in a way. The conditioning of your world is such that from a very young age, you're taught that your life will be a certain way. You'll go to this school, then you go to this school, then you'll pick out a school that you'll go to, and you might go to another one after that, and then you work a job for a period of time until you stop working the job. And in between, you'll do a various array of other things too, but that's what's supposed to happen.
Right. There's all this like
there's many supposed to. You're supposed to do it this way. You're supposed to do this at this time with this paperwork and with these agreements, letting these certain people know, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Though this is not the nature of your soul. This is not the nature of humans, really. It is the nature of the system that you've constructed that doesn't have everyone's best interests at its core.
Yes.
So you are in a process of breaking yourselves out of this system and out of this systematic way of thinking. When you are working with channeling or with any sort of spiritual healing path, you can do best when you let go of the sequential way of looking at things, because your awakening process is not always sequential. You might be doing one particular phase while another person is doing a phase that you've already completed, but is also integrating phases that have yet to come for you. So
I see. It's kind of like a spiral of just.
It's
like,
not even that.
Not even a
it's
spiral.
It's non-linear.
Oh.
It's quantum. It's
quantum.
Wow. As you choose. And you choose on multiple levels. You choose at the soul level, at the incarnational level, yes, based upon the agreements you have with other past or future lifetimes, and with this current incarnation and the genetic family and so on, to have a certain map for your soul where you will explore certain areas of territory, and then you will be able to integrate what you need to integrate when it's proper to do so. Now, there's another level of choice that is your human level choice. You are making choices in your physical reality all the time that send you in different directions, in different pathways. And this choice is also influencing how your soul develops. So you will never miss an appointment that is truly meant to be, but you can postpone opportunities by hesitating and by doubting in yourself and doubting in your own heart's guidance.
So yes, so we're capable of postponing, but the real sort of heart of our path, those real moments that are sort of indelible in our soul's path, we can't miss, but we can meander around and change the timing of those. Is that
Yes.
what you're saying? Yeah. So I also wanted to ask you, let's see, there are a couple things. Let's see if I can remember. Yeah, I had an experience where my beloved on planet Tara came to me through someone on planet Earth, through the personality aspect of that soul that was on Tara. And I've been connecting with him on Earth in his embodiment. And I keep, wanting to have more of that galactic recognition by him that connects us back to our home on Tara. I'm just wondering if that's fruitful for me to be involved in connecting with him, because sometimes I find myself being disappointed that there isn't that galactic link up that we have in the other realms. So I just wondered if it's what's the best way to relate to him. I don't want to just not relate to him. I'm in his community online, so I see him, but I also sometimes find myself giving my power away to him, and I get out of balance and kind of addicted and obsessive. And so I just wondered what you have to say for the best way to maintain balance in that situation.
You have to recognize that you are projecting something onto this human form
Yes.
that you are seeing. And this obsession is a great way to distract yourself.
I was hearing that. Yes, absolutely.
And to distract is a form of protecting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are distracted, you will not feel some level of insecurity or fear or even boredom that might be beneath the surface. So
Okay.
by bringing yourself back into your own experience and allowing yourself to be present with these emotions, you will allow the layers of protection to chill out. You don't need to get rid of them. You can thank them for protecting you. Though also, when you develop a deeper relationship with the parts of you that experience a certain level of fear, then you won't need a protection. So in this case, we would say that there is a certain level of fear of being irrelevant. And
Wow.
by
Yes.
attaching to someone who you project relevance onto because of their magnetic charm or charisma, then you compensate for that fear by experience a sort of vicarious relevance
Oh, I
through
totally
your soul
understand.
connection.
Yes, I
So
totally get it.
what you'll find is that when you face your fear of irrelevance, that you are not irrelevant, because you also have your own level of magnetic pull and charm to those who are relevant for you. Remember this about relevance, is that every soul is on a different soul fractal that pulls in different members of that soul family. You may use different terms according to whoever is channeling this information, just like there are many languages in your world. There are many ways that beings like us and channelers like this channel refer to these sorts of groups of souls. It can be a soul fractal, it can be a soul family, it can be a soul group, it can be a soul cluster. They all generally mean something that is the same, if not similar. So remember that you could not be irrelevant in any way to those people who are on your soul fractal. And sometimes these beings might be, in their own sense, distracted, and they might be using their own distractions as a way of protecting themselves, and that might make you feel similarly not as connected to them. Though remember that it is important to reach out and not hold back. And when you open yourself and you connect with those souls that you really wish to connect with, it will create that netting that pulls you back together. And it's necessary for every soul in the soul fractal to do this to some extent. When you pay attention to those that respond and create your bonds there, you will find that your soul is incredibly relevant and your gifts are incredibly relevant. So make sure that you don't seek out this sort of vicarious significance by projecting that people who are in any way famous or something of this nature might be in any way more relevant for you.
I understand. Is he in my soul fractal?
A few steps removed.
Mm. So I do want to get back to um, talking to Dante a
Oh, we
bit.
understand.
So thank you so much for answering
Oh, we're
my
very
questions.
excited to do this always, so we thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So thank you
Cool.
so much.
Yeah, of
A few
course.
couple of questions there. So I would love to hear, and I'm sure podcast audience would love to hear about, gosh, your two books, right? You have
Oh, yeah.
tell us
Well, I
about
have
your
two
two
channel
different
books, and then
books.
I have other books that I have written myself that are more personal or human level that are in their development still. So the first book is the guidebook to living love on Earth. And so what does that mean, living love on Earth? The Palladian Council and other channel beings say that our purpose is to be ourselves. And why is our purpose simply to be ourselves? It's because existence exists as a way for Source to know itself.
Yeah.
Like Source before, or God before there was any existence, was this love and light that was infinite and boundless, literally no boundaries, so
Mm,
encompassing, no time, no space, no anything, no differentiation. So in that state, Source didn't know who it was. It didn't know what, if there's something, there's nothing that isn't Source in that realm, or there's nothing that's in any way differentiated from that unlimited consciousness.
hmm.
And so it needed to create this multiverse in order to know itself. And all of us are that Source, that God, getting to know and experience itself. And it's the gift of a human incarnation or any incarnation to go from a state of forgetting to gradually remembering that, oh, okay, I have this body, I'm in this world of limitations, but I'm also all of that too. I'm also this boundless, wonderful, immense time space energy field.
Wow. That's so beautiful.
So that's the idea, is like living love on Earth is done by following this formula, that is to act on your highest passion to the best of your ability without
Without
insisting on
insisting
any
on any
particular
particular
outcome.
outcome. I've heard it so many
and
times.
and so, but that leads you to live love on Earth and become an embodiment of Source and self-aware as Source,
Hmm.
and your whole life to have that unconditional love of Source flowing through. Um, so the guidebook to living love on Earth talks about that formula and talks about the metaphysical nature of our reality, how we came into being, and everything involved in this dimension. And then it goes into as well the how this plays out in every area of our lives. So it works with the model of 12 houses of the zodiac representing different areas of human life, and
Hmm.
then it talks about all of those, from the body to beauty and aesthetics to communication, family, relationships, money, and yeah, it's literally like encompassing so many different topics. And a lot of the my close channeling students were involved in asking some of the questions that became the contents of the book, and then I and a team of editors filtered through it to compile it. And it was actually like was it a year long? No, it was almost a year long process. It was 9 months or so process of bringing that together. And
Wow.
yeah, then the
Yes.
second book is it's another year-long process, not as intense as the first one.
I think the
Um,
first one's
the
probably
first one
always
was
like the
really
most
intense,
intense.
but the first book is like it's 400 pages long, and it's not small either. Um,
Wow.
and the second book is um, what's it called? Channeling Your Innate Value. So it's the evolution of money and abundance on an ascending planet.
Oh my God.
And
Sign me up. I need that book.
so this is all about our system of money in this time and how that developed, and from the good, the bad, the ugly, right? And so we're in this very weird world where 1% owns 99% of the wealth, blah blah blah. Um, so why is it this way? And they talk about the human creation from the Anunnaki and how we've been programmed with certain mythologies, and that while it seems as if there's these 1% in control, that it's actually the ways that the rest of us perpetuate limiting ways of seeing things and disempowering hierarchical ways of seeing things that allows that to
To
perpetuate.
perpetuate.
So
Yeah.
it's
Wow.
about breaking out of that hierarchical model and coming to understand that we are all innately valuable and we all have innate gifts, and these gifts have value to the world, and how do we learn to channel them to receive that value. um, and it's also about coming to recognize the difference between money and abundance, in that a lot of times part of the ways that we're enslaved by money is by thinking that it's the only way that we have to do things. So part of this is breaking free from those lack-based thought forms that
Mm,
say I don't have value. The other part is breaking free from the lack-based consciousness that says I don't have enough,
mm.
and stepping into this energy of full gratitude, full appreciation for life and for everything, and celebrating everything, living from that heartful place. And so that book is much more readable, I would say.
That's the one I'm really
Yeah,
excited about.
yeah, and it has two meditations
Oh.
in it as well. With the purchase, you can get the audios for those meditations online, and some practice exercises to work on changing your beliefs are included in the book. And it's a good 260 pages, but a normal book size, not the textbook
Nice.
like the first one. And then I'm working on books as well that are just about my life and travels and the lessons I've learned,
Wow. Yeah.
just on a more personal level, um, to share with the world. But those are actually, you would think that they're more difficult, but channeling is way easier for me somehow.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting, like you're talking about that feeling of like how we're programmed with that feeling of like I'm not enough, or it's not enough, or there's not enough.
Yeah.
It's amazing because like as I go through this process of like trying to get my website online, trying to learn how to give webinars, trying to learn how
Mm,
to get my CDs in pro publishing on CD Baby, trying to learn how to pitch songs on
mm,
Spotify. It's like there's always the next thing
yeah.
that you don't know. And I noticed that instead of being able to just be like calmly walking up a staircase and saying, okay, life is a progression, life is for learning,
Mm,
right? And there's a part of me that I get to that experience of there's something I don't know, and it just sets up this like panic and like a black hole, and I'm just like,
ooh, wow.
why does it do that? Like why it, maybe it's a fear that I don't know. I think there's something in me that's like in my unconscious that says you have to know everything, right? Because why else would I respond with that moment when I don't know as like this
Mm,
just something that's so horrendous, right? It's
yeah.
teaching me. I should have asked the Pleiadians about that. But I noticed I was like, because I someone sent a webinar from the Monetize Your Mission, and it was not a webinar but an email, and it had all the things, click here, and it was very sophisticated and had a click funnel, and I was like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to make a click funnel, right? And all of a sudden I'm just like, why panic? It's like, just relax. Somebody could show you how to make a click funnel if you need to, right? But what is a what? I mean, yeah, I could ask Pleiadians that, but I think it's just being able to just trust in the outpressing of life, and let it be okay that other people know something that I don't.
Normalize not knowing.
just yeah, just normalize not knowing. And oh, there's also another thing. It's like, but if they know it and I don't, then like I've missed the bus. Like I'm not on the bus at all. Like it's so
Well, what about
crazy.
knowing what you need to know when you need to know it? Because that's a part of the formula as well, is
Because
that,
that's the formula,
yeah,
knowing what you need to
when
know
you act upon your highest
when.
excitement to the best of your ability without insisting on an outcome, you most of the time will know what you need to know when you need to know it. No sooner. So again,
Okay.
it's going back to what I was saying, is like we've been trained to like think of things very systematically, that we have to know how to deal with every step and how to deal with every
Right. As if,
trial and trouble that
yeah.
comes up in the process. But no one knows everything, and we as a species know very little of what's out there. So that's why I love like Zen Buddhism.
Oh
The
my
the
God.
beginner's mind is approach everything with that humility of like, oh, okay, I don't know, I don't really know that
I don't really
much.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, and like always challenging yourself to learn a little bit more and to always face into the unknown and like, well, I haven't completely mastered that one, but become curious, right?
Right. And like give yourself
Curiosity.
credit for all that you have mastered,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
there's things that I know and you know that other people don't know, but they have an
yeah,
expertise
yeah.
that they know things that we don't know. And so it's like,
Though
yeah.
also that beginner's mind is like, when I get to know a new client, especially for anything, astrology, channeling, like I don't know how they're going to respond to everything that I say. I don't know how they're going to take to the information. So it's like we're facing unknowns all the time, and when we're really intuitive people, we can know what we need to say, or know the way that we need to approach. But we always have to let the intuition work. We have to sit in that unknowing, and you have to be kind of uncomfortable with the unknowing,
Mm.
because I think I made the most mistakes when I put the pressure on myself. Like, I need to know the answer. I need to know the answer.
The pressure.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and so even in channeling, sometimes at the Palladian Council, we're like, oh well, no, we don't know. It's not for very much,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
when like when you can say, oh, I don't know, and be okay with that, it's really helpful, because it allows you to be in that place of surrender. It's like surrendering to source,
It
surrendering
is.
to our higher selves.
It is. And I remember
No
like,
one has all the answers, and we don't need to.
I want to ask the Pleiadians one more question. Can you pop them in here for a second?
Well, once again, okay. All right, yes.
Okay. So, yeah, there's the question. One question that I have is that like, lately I've been channeling, and I wonder like if I'm channeling my higher self, or if there like are a group of beings that want to channel through me.
You're channeling your higher self, and there's many guides that you already know to some extent who would be happy to speak through you.
Mm-hmm. How do I open to that process?
Well, when you've tapped into your higher self, have
Mm.
you ever asked for one of those specific guides to come through?
I don't know if I know exactly who my guides are. To just, you mean just like ask a guide to come through?
Yes. You know about your Palladian guides and your Syrian guides and several others. Some from fairy realms, some from angelic realms. You
Hmm.
feel these connections, so why do you doubt that there is a guide?
I also feel Andromeda too.
Yes, you know.
Okay, so I can just play around with that.
yes, ask for one of these specific beings to come through, and perhaps you would like to print out some pictures of these stars or constellations or anything that holds the frequency of these beings for you, so you can remind yourself of these beings. And when you meditate, ask for one specific being at a time. Sometimes you are too broad with what you're focusing on, so you might do a channeling meditation for 15 minutes and focus specifically on your Andromedan connection for that time and not the others, and get to know how that energy feels and what they have to say.
Mm-hmm. Oh, beautiful. Gosh, wonderful. Thanks for popping in again. I was like, bring them in, bring them out. Yes, thank you so much. Well, so I think we have about 5 more minutes, maybe 5 or 6 more minutes. So if there's anything more, we're gonna, in the show notes, we'll have the way you can connect to Dante. He does wonderful readings, as you can see. The information that comes forth is so enriching and so wonderful. I love my readings.
Thank you.
And then, of course, the books. Now, you have a website right now.
DanteStarshine.com.
DanteStarshine.com. You can find all of these beautiful offerings. And let's get silent for a moment and just see if there's anything we want to bring here or ask here.
Sorry, I'm yawning.
No, that's okay. I'm feeling pretty complete. Are you feeling pretty complete?
I'll just mention, in addition to the channeling sessions, I do astrology readings too. I've studied Western astrology while in Vedic astrology for 2 years. And so, yeah, I work with that as well. And that's another passion of mine, a very powerful guiding force and way of understanding things for me. And I also do, I don't know what to call them anymore. I don't like the word coaching sessions anymore, and I don't feel like I can call myself a therapist, but it's something like that. So
somewhere between mentorship is what I love to call it. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, it's been an honor. It's been fun to do it live too, right here in the living room. I can touch him. I can touch him. I've done. This is my first in-person interview. So
wow.
Yeah, you're the first one.
Great.
So thanks for being with us today, everyone. And again, in the show notes, we'll have all the ways to connect with Dante. And with the equinox, we got some interesting astrology with the equinox, I bet. I'm not going to ask you because you give so much energy out, but happy equinox, everyone. Friday, happy I guess. Equinox. Only happy a couple days away. Happy everything. All right, much love. And we'll see you in the next episode. And many blessings.
See you then. Blessings, love.
Bye. I can reach that button. Woo! Gotta get that. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can find all of the guest information as well as my contact information in the show notes. The musical selections for the intro and the outro were Let Yourself Be Awash in a Sea of Love and Mother Song. You can listen to and purchase these songs and more at sarahdams1.bandcamp.com. If you found value in today's content, please like and share, as it really helps support the continued production of this podcast. If you would like to schedule a free informational call with me, you can do that at calendly.com/SarahAdamsHealing/30 minutes. Many blessings, and we will see you in the next episode. Mother, flow the golden raindrops from your loving hand. Mother, feel me dance upon